Now broadcasting from his hidden bunker and fully stocked bar, it is the Saturday Report with Colt Sebastian Taylor.
Thank you and welcome, my friends, to 2022 with the first Saturday Report with me, Colt Sebastian Taylor of the Year, adventurer, entrepreneur, and amateur New Year's baby. And welcome to AWSM Radio, an independent digital-only radio station that plays today's best music, old school classics, along with a rotating cast of all-star DJs. AWSM Radio focuses on mainstream artists, independent artists, along with a variety of interesting music shows and talk shows throughout the day, such as mine. And all we do is entertain, inspire, and inform. And my friends, I want to engage with you. I want you to be part of the conversation. So find me on the Twitter, on the Rizzle, the Instagram, the Cameo at Colt S. Taylor. And if you can't quite catch every week's episode, it happens. You can subscribe to the podcast version of the show at anchor.fm/Colt S. Taylor. All right, my friends, let's get started with this week's very first of 2022 Saturday Report. First up, folks, I'm sure you were wondering, where was I Christmas Day last Saturday? I'm sure you woke up, opened up all of your presents, made sure Santa ate all of the cookies, and then no Colt Sebastian Taylor. Well, my friends, perfectly good explanation. I had a bit of a medical issue last week. No. Not the COVID. The Omicron has not got to me yet. But from like Wednesday through Sunday last week, I had terrible nerve pain in my arm and shoulder and neck to the point where I couldn't really sit down and work on anything. Just awful. And I went to the urgent care nearby on Christmas Eve and waited 4.5 hours to be seen by a doctor. The urgent care was overwhelmed with people seeking COVID-19 testing for the holidays. When I had arrived there at 11 a.m., they were completely out of rapid tests, so the only tests they had left were ones they could send away to a lab, which were 24 to 48, maybe 72 hours, which a lot of people were not very happy about, that's for sure. And, Yeah, I spent my Christmas Eve in the urgent care, and then Christmas Eve and Christmas night in tremendous amounts of pain on muscle relaxants, and a variety of other, prescription Bengay and whatnot. Ugh, terrible. Right now, I'm doing a wee bit better. Still uncomfortable in the arm and neck. Going to go see some specialists this week. I think it's a pinched nerve, so there's that and whatnot. But I'm currently on steroids, so all I want to do now is flip cars and Hulk out. I think that's how that works. But that is why I was unavailable on Christmas Day, not to bring you the news of the week, but actually probably rather convenient, as I imagine many people were busy out and about that day for various family events and whatnot. So if there had to be a week for me not to be doing something, I guess that would be a good week to do it. But special shout out to my friends at WellSpan, who are looking into my issues and trying to patch me back together. I'll have an update for you next week because I know you're all worried about it. But thus far, doing okay. Just not doing any heavy lifting with the left side of my body. Just trying to take it easy. And the thing that's the most annoying is like the tip of my index finger is numb. Like I don't have any feeling there. So that's what makes me think it's like a nerve, elbow, wrist nerve issue. And it's hard to type because it doesn't feel like I'm typing like I'm normally typing. So I don't know how far I need to push down before I hit something. And so typing, I've had to adjust the way I typed. It took me like a day or two to sort that out. So, but anyways, friends, get yourself health insurance because you never know when crippling nerve pain will strike you. First up this week, there has been some recent passing away of some very notable people. First to note is legendary coach John Madden. Passed away this week at the age of 85. Suddenly, apparently, there was no details of what the cause of his demise was. He was a coach for the Renegade Oakland Raiders, making it to 7 AFC title games and winning the Super Bowl following the 1976 season. Overall, he had a record of 103 wins, 32 losses, and 7 ties in a regular season, with a winning percentage of .759, among the best, and is the best of NFL coaches with more than 100 games played. He retired from coaching at actually a very young age of 42, and most people today know him, people of my age, whatnot, know him as being an announcer on football games. He and I believe Pat Summerall announced games for decades, including several Super Bowls. Well known for his drawing on the screen, the X's and O's, and his catchphrases, boom, things like that. He started his broadcasting career at CBS. And actually, fun fact, he was very afraid to fly. And so between games where he had to announce games, he had a bus, a John Madden bus that would drive him to new games where he had to announce. And this bus was like very tricked out. Like, it was like basically a roving high-end mobile home where he could relax and research and be driven to these games, because he was very afraid of flying. He rarely flew. He would take this bus wherever he would go. He then moved to Fox in 1994 to call primetime games. Then he went to ABC and then NBC, and then retired in 2009 after the Super Bowl, where the Pittsburgh Steelers won over the Arizona Cardinals in that game. He is also well known for his Madden football games, very popular football games across several different video game systems, starting way back, I believe, like over 25 years. I believe the first Madden video game was in like 1989, 88, I believe, and continues to this day. They release a new Madden game every year. He was the face of these games until about 2000, and then after 2000, they started putting players on the cover of the games. But that will probably continue. It'll probably be, he would lend his voice to the video game announcing in many of these games. I don't know if he did recent ones, because I don't play football video games, but many of those early games up into the last few years would feature his voice calling games. Probably up into at least 2009, we would call the games. And also recently, they released a documentary on Christmas Day called All Madden, reviewing his life and things like that. And then, unfortunately, he also passed away about 2 days before his 62nd wedding anniversary to his wife, Virginia Madden. So there have been many statements from the Raiders, the NFL, ESPN, the EA Sports, which now produces those games, remembering him. So Hall of Fame coach John Madden passed away this week at the age of 85. Moving along, another person passed away this week of tremendous notoriety. Nobel Peace winner Archbishop Desmond Tutu of South Africa passed away recently. He was an archbishop in South Africa for many years, has been a force for over 60 years in that country, campaigning against apartheid, which was a system in South Africa that kept various racial groups separated, one of the last ones in the entire world until it finally fell apart in the early 90s, due to increasing international pressure brought by him, Nelson Mandela, etc. And he played a big role in that as well. He was named to the Truth and Reconciliation Committee in 1995. 95? Was it 95? 95, 96. That looked at past atrocities of the apartheid system under South Africa, where people were invited to come and give testimony, in many cases in exchange for amnesty, so that a record of what happened would be recorded. People only had like a certain amount of time to do this, and then there'll be charges, but the way to I guess, move on from it was to have this Truth and Reconciliation Committee, and he was the head of that well-respected clergyman. He somewhat retired in the last 6, 7, 8 years. Getting pretty old, but was still active, putting out statements and whatnot. He was a good friends with the Dalai Lama. In tributes to him, there was a 2 or 3 minute video posted on Twitter, and those two would tease each other tremendously when they hung out together. Well known for his giggling laugh, and it was pretty much a national symbol of South Africa. His funeral, I believe, is today. It's at his old church at St. George's Cathedral in Cape Town. There has been, I think, 2 or 3 days of viewings where people can come and pay their final respects. He's being buried in just a simple wooden coffin, nothing extravagant, and it marks quite the passing of a monumental force in South Africa. That's a shame that he has passed away. 90, very impressive age to reach. Especially given how tumultuous that part of the world was over the last 90 years. But many people across South Africa, across the world, putting out statements, including former President Obama and past presidents and past prime ministers of various countries, expressing their condolences to the Tutu family and friends. African President Cyril Ramaphosa released a statement saying that he is a patriot without equal, a man of extraordinary intellect, integrity, and invincibility against the forces of apartheid. He was also tender and vulnerable in his compassion for those who had suffered oppression, injustice, and violence under apartheid, and oppressed and downtrodden people across the world. So, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, Nobel Peace Prize winner, fierce opponent of apartheid, passed away this week at the age of 90, and I believe his funeral is today. Probably be a world event, well, probably a national event in South Africa and many parts of that continent of people viewing it on TV. And finally, in also sad news, legendary comedic actress Betty White passed away at 99 weeks before her 100th birthday. A career spanning back all the way back to 1939, over 8 decades of comedy and acting. She starred on radio, and unfortunately passed away on New Year's Eve. Best known for The Golden Girls, which ran from 1985 to 1992. She also was on the Mary Tyler Moore Show. She had her own show, The Betty White Show, had a lot of roles in many different shows, such as The Love Boat, That 70s Show, Boston Legal, Bold and the Beautiful, Hot in Cleveland, which was another popular show that she was on. She was in The Proposal with Ryan Reynolds and Sandra Bullock, which was also a very, very funny movie. She had won a Grammy, as well as several Screen Actor Guild Awards and American Comedy Awards, and won 5 Primetime Emmys as well. Her birthday, her 100th birthday, would have been in January 17th, unfortunately. She also made headlines this week when she said, "I heard Ryan Reynolds can't get over this thing for me." And then Ryan Reynolds tweeted back, "I am absolutely sick of the media exploiting past relationships just to drive clicks." But she apparently passed away due to natural causes, according to the latest reports. Had not really left her house since COVID-19 had started. But unfortunately, the great Betty White passed away on the last day of 2021 at the age of 99. Hopefully 2022 will be better for all of us. Thanks, Betty White. Moving along, the flu. The flu is back this year, folks. That's right. After a record low reporting of the flu last year, is coming back and is higher than usual. And so the flu is back. Now, I have read online and have argued with some people saying, well, gosh, the flu is back. How convenient. Why did the flu take a year off last year? Would the flu disappear? the flu disappeared last year? It's all a big conspiracy. Well, to my slack-jawed yokel friends out there, no, that's not how that works. As you may remember, last year, we didn't have a vaccine and everyone was pretty much under lockdown. People were wearing masks a whole lot more than they were now. Cleaning was a whole lot better. And people were keeping away from other people who were sick. And people who were sick were staying home. Gosh, that would knock down flu quite a bit, wouldn't it? This year, people, I would say, are 80 to 90% back to normal. Some people were back to 100% normal way too soon. And that's why the flu is back. That's just the way it works. If you're super concerned about not spreading germs, super concerned about not spreading COVID-19, which is very contagious, more contagious than the flu, then yeah, the flu, which is less contagious, is not going to get out there and go about getting people and whatnot. And then one person I came across, and I'm not going to give him the time of day. I usually don't comment on Facebook comments, but I just couldn't help myself. He said, "Oh, the flu's back because everyone's getting flu shots." I said, "Wait, are you saying people get the flu because they get flu shots?" Prove me wrong. I mean, that fella doesn't have enough IQ points to fill a domino. Like, oh boy, like you are the stupidest person I've come across this month. Wow, that is crazy. So, folks, if you got yourself your COVID vaccine, which you should, get yourself a flu vaccine as well, because numbers, they be going up, as is hospitalizations. So if you do get uber sick and need to go to the hospital, and I do have a friend of a friend of a friend who got sick, had to wait 2 days in the emergency room to get a room, because that's how busy hospitals are in some parts of this world, of this country. Probably yours as well. So get your flu shot, get your vaccine shot, protect yourself. You still might get the flu, okay? This isn't like polio. You still might get the flu, okay? But you won't get it as bad. And chances are much lower that you'll have to go to the hospital or be on medication for it. You still might get the sniffles, but you might not get like asthmatic bronchitis because of it. All right? All right. Glad we had this talk. Speaking of having talks, let me talk to you about a show you should be listening to here Friday nights at 9 p.m., Sundays at 10 p.m. You do not want to miss my friends, DC Live in Effect. He is our in-house DJ. In DC, boy howdy. He mixes it up every Friday night and every Sunday night, 9 and 10 p.m. respectively. You don't want to miss out while he smashes it, kills it, destroys it on the ones and the twos, kicking the beats from his hermetically sealed South Florida compound. Listen to DC Live in Effect, Fridays at 9, Sundays at 10, right here on AWSM Radio. Moving along, back to the world of health. COVID-19, specifically the Omicron variant, is causing a bit of havoc in the world of show business, specifically Broadway. Hugh Jackman tested positive this week for COVID-19, pulling him from his current revival of The Music Man, which is actually a very good musical. I was actually in The Music Man back in the day. But he can't perform until he is COVID clear. The show, unlike other shows, is being continued. They have some amazing understudies there. Apparently, one of the understudies named, I believe his name is Voitico, knows 10 different parts in The Music Man. Like, he's like the go-to understudy. And then another person knows 8 parts and performed the role for the first time, like given like an hour notice, and got like 3 standing ovations at the end. So that's a very good production that has understudies amazing like that. Hugh Jackman released a video saying that, he would be gone for a few days, but he hopes to come back soon, and encourage people to come and see the show, because the show, even though he's not there, they still got to pay the folks that work there. So going to those shows to see it anyways helps them keep that show going. Other shows are not as lucky. As I mentioned in the previous broadcast, the Rockettes canceled all of their shows for the rest of the year due to COVID-19 outbreaks within the cast there. Other popular shows have been canceled for the rest of the year or have suffered cancellations, including Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, Tina, the Tina Turner musical, Freestyle Love Supreme, and several others. Basically, they just can't put on the shows because the folks needed to do that show get sick, and they don't have enough people to either perform the show or run the technical aspects of the show, so they have to cancel it. And some are being pulled altogether. Even Andrew Lloyd Webber, his new musical had to be stopped for 4 weeks because of rampant COVID outbreaks within the cast and crew. Now, you're probably saying to yourself, well, come on now. Are these people vaccinated? Yes. Once again, my monosyllabic stating folks, just because you have the vaccine doesn't mean you still can't get it. It's less of a risk. Still can happen. And you have still less of a risk to infect other people, but still can happen. So this is the appropriate thing for people to do. And it's not just affecting businesses and shows on Broadway. The Smithsonian Institute, who run a bunch of different museums, announced this week that they were shutting down 4 museums until next year, January 3rd, due to a surge of COVID infections within the staff. They, too, just don't have enough people who do not have COVID-19 to run several of their museums. They just don't have the staff. So if you're planning to visit the National Museum of African Art, the National Postal Museum, the Anacostia Museum, Community Museum, and the National Museum of Asian Art, you don't have to wait until January 3rd. That's when they hope to reopen said museum. So, today's the 1st. So by Monday, if you're planning to see it over New Year's weekend, you're out of luck, but they should be reopening on Monday. The Smithsonian said that it strives to keep as many of our museums open to the public as possible without sacrificing the health and safety of our visitors and staff. So, the folks that aren't sick, they're being relocated to different museums to help out there as well. If you do visit the museums that are open, anyone over the age of 2 are required to wear a mask if they are indoors, regardless of their vaccinating status, according to the museum's COVID protocols and whatnot. So, COVID Omicron cases impacting many, many different folks. Fortunately, if you're vaccinated, you are not as likely to go to the hospital, but you still have to quarantine. And the CDC, I believe this week, released a update that if you test positive and show no symptoms, you only need to quarantine for the time being for 5 days instead of 10 days. And just as a reminder, this is official from the COVID briefing this week. We know that being boosted, fully vaccinated and boosted, is the primary way to prevent you from any severe illness or death. We know the difference between being boosted versus unvaccinated. You're 10 times more likely to become infected. So if you have no vaccine, and if you have the 2 shots and boosted, if you're not vaccinated, you're 10 times more likely to become infected and 20 more times likely to die. And it's free, folks. So, get your shots. Now on to more less grim news. Lake Tahoe in California shattered a 50-year-old December snowfall record with more than 16 feet of snow this week. Lake Tahoe is a popular place for the hoity-toity to go skiing and whatnot. I've never been, but I'd be more than happy to have a celebrity who likes redheads take me out there one day. You never know what might happen. But it shattered a snowfall record that was set 50 years ago. This past Monday, the December snow totals at UC Berkeley Central Sierra Snow Lab reached 193.7 inches, blowing a 1970 record of 179 inches out of the water, or snow as it were. The lab is located at Donner Pass and received 39 inches of snow in the past 24 hours, so I imagine by now they've broken the 200-inch mark. The lab was built in 1946 by the U.S. Weather Bureau and Army Corps engineers, and has one of the longest running manual snow depth records in the world, with records dating back to 1879. Regional climatologist Dan McAvoy said there's been a very beneficial storm to the Sierra region. The Lake Tahoe Basin area has 200% their average snow water equivalent for the year thus far. So measuring water and snow is different than measuring water and rain, obviously. But they have 200% more than they usually have, which is pretty good. These December storms came in what they said was forming a right-side-up snowpack, which means it's better for water retention and also good to alleviate avalanche concerns. So it was the right type of snow to fall, I guess. I guess there's different types of snow. It will keep the snow ski results in good shape, even if there's a spat of dry spat, and when there's no snow. And overall, it's pretty impressive for December. But he did caution that this would help with the drought. That does not mean drought conditions would be over. The McAvoy stressed that if I had to emphasize one point, it's that the drought's not over. We need the storms to continue through winter. So it will help a bit with the drought, but they would need multiple winter storms like this throughout months to make a decent dent. But every little bit helps in that area. Still widespread drought throughout the American West, but if they can get some good snow packs over winter in many areas, it would help slow down the problems that they're having out there. Moving to Japan, but staying on the same subject, Japan also saw record-setting snowfall this past week. I'm sure you're as familiar with the prefectures in Japan as I am, but the prefectures bordering the Sea of Japan and Japan's largest island, Honshu, were hardest hit by the heavy snows. Meteorologists say that this was a sea effect snow machine, which roars to life apparently during winter in Japan, and downwind areas of Japan encounter bands of snow that lay down prolific amounts of snow in a very short time. In the Shiga Prefecture, the city of Hikone recorded over 2 feet of snow in the 24-hour period over Sunday of Monday of this past week. Farther west, in the Asago, in the Hyogo Prefecture, received 28 inches of snow in the same period. For both cities, this was the most snow either city had ever recorded in a 24-hour period, which was pretty impressive. Enormous snow amounts have been reported over the last few days in northern Honshu. This week, the portion of the city of Amoni, located in Amoni Prefecture, recorded 78 inches of snowfall since late last week. So that's a lot of snowfall over a 7-day period. So apparently in that area, they have sea effect snowfall. It's much like lake effect snow here in the United States off of the Great Lakes, which I personally have some experience with. I went to college at Edinburgh University. Well, formerly known as Edinburgh University. They went through a stupid name change recently. Bleh. But my years there, off of Lake Erie, there was a lot of snow there. Sometimes more snow there than Buffalo, New York, which is known for their snow. Basically, the air picks up the moisture from the lake, and as it hits land, it gets pushed up. Higher it gets, colder it gets, drops massive amounts of snow. I kid you not, you could see snow at any time between October and April in the northwestern part of Pennsylvania. And they're very used to it. Schools do not shut down on a regular basis. They'll shut down for ice, but they have lots of snowplows out there. It snows practically all the time. We come home for Thanksgiving, go back for December, then come back up for the holidays. And when I got back from Thanksgiving, it would snow every day that I was up there, at least 2 inches at some point. And occasionally you get, slammed with 5, 6, 9 inches of snow. But boots were popular. They had a bunch of call boxes in case during blizzard conditions you had to get help from someone. But anyways, in Japan, lake effect snow, or sea effect snow, record amounts there in Japan. In fact, snow going down as far down as Kyoto and Hiroshima, which is apparently a little unusual. They had some pileups. The West Nippon Expressway Company, an operator of a toll road, said there's a 20-car stranded in snow last week, and they had to send in crews to rescue them as well. High-speed rail lines have been closed down, and it's been kind of a mess with snow over there coming off the Sea of Japan. So, yep, that's about it there from Japan. So to all of my Japanese listeners, I hope you're staying warm there in Japan. I learned a new thing today about sea effect snow, but I'm very familiar with there weren't 20 inches of snow here yesterday experience myself. So hope you have warm boots, warm gloves, and a sturdy shovel. Speaking of breaking records, a record you should never attempt to break is missing a single day of the Rock Sessions. Is our drive time show here on AWSM Radio, hosted by the beautiful, fantastic, and lovely Rocks, making sure that your evening commute home is fun, featuring the hottest music on the charts and some other surprises in between. She will make it rock style. You should not, cannot, and will not, well, you could, but you should not miss the Rock Sessions Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. right here on AWSM Radio. We now go to Egypt, where for the first time, comprehensively speaking, a mummy has been unwrapped digitally. The mummy of King Imhotep I was wrapped, obviously. Mummies, that's how they buried their royal rulers out there. Has been wrapped up for 3,500 years. And, back in the day when they first discovered these mummies, they would unwrap them. Often, they would destroy the bodies in the process. So, once they realized, we shouldn't be doing this anymore, they generally don't unwrap mummies anymore unless they're really sure they can do it properly. And this one, being a very famous one, they've never done that. But, using x-rays, computers, and CT scans, they were able to digitally unwrap it, taking off the layers of linen digitally to take a look at the body and examine it. This, according to Zawi Hawass, a prominent Egyptologist and one of the scientists involved with research, for the first time we can know information about the mummy without disturbing the mummy, he said. The study was published this week and was co-authored by, as I mentioned, Zawi Hawass, as well as Dr. Sahar Salim, a radiology professor at Cairo University's Department of Medicine, and they were able to use the scanning technology and learn many other things about him. They learned his age, height, and how healthy he was when he died. So according to this is like new information they had. They could only really guess, but now they know much more for sure. He was 35 at the time of death. Based on the analysis of his bones, was generally in good health. His teeth were intact, which is unusual, and did not seem to be suffering from any injuries or diseases that really indicated how he died. So they don't really know how he died, but it wasn't from any illnesses or injuries. Another thing that they noticed is that his brain was not removed, which was common of the kings of that time, including Ramses II and Tutankhamun. Oh, man. He was buried with 30 amulets and a belt of gold beads. Imhotep I ruled Egypt for about 21 years, between 1525 to 1504 BC, and his tomb, which has never... his original tomb has never been located, but his mummy was found reburied in Luxor in 1881. So they don't really know where he was originally buried, but they see that he was moved there at some later time. And they're obviously very excited about this. Today, they said, Dr. Salim said, "Nowadays, we do not physically unwrap mummies anymore. We preserve our heritage and study them using non-invasive techniques." So they plan to be doing this with the other mummies that they have. Basically, they took a bunch of scans, cross-sections of the mummy, and put it together. He said, like slices of toast, we put it together to make a full loaf of bread. The technique enabled me to digitally remove the wrapping, to visualize the amulets in between the layers, and to visualize the face of the mummy. So they plan to be doing this soon, and they plan to doing multiple new studies on all of the royal mummies that they have there in Egypt. Moving to the world of entertainment, Ice Cube this week revealed the reason why Chris Tucker did not return to the Friday sequel. In 1995, the movie Friday was a critical hit. It was a stoner comedy featuring Chris Tucker and Ice Cube. Apparently, Chris Tucker turned down $12 million to come back to the sequel due to religious reasons. According to a tweet, Ice Cube said, "We are ready to pay Chris Tucker $10 to $12 million to do next Friday, but he turned it down for religious reasons. He didn't want to cuss or smoke weed on camera anymore." So, the next Friday, which came out in 2000, featured Ice Cube starring opposite of Mike Epps, and they started in a third movie in the franchise, Friday After Next, in 2002, and there are rumors that they're going to do a fourth one after that. Now, what is interesting is that after Friday, Chris Tucker went on to do Rush Hour, which, is not a super religious movie. I mean, if you look at the themes there, but I guess he really didn't want to be cussing and smoking weed on camera. Tucker actually said in an interview in November, that movie became a phenomenon. I don't want everyone smoking weed, and I never really told people this because I kind of forgot about it, but it was one of the reasons why I didn't do it, because I said I don't want to represent everybody smoking weed. It probably was good for me because it kept me moving to the next phase and next movies, and went on to do Rush Hour with Jackie Chan. Although, I mean, I don't see him doing movies lately, so I feel like he may come back for the next Friday movie. And Tucker continued to say, "My fans love the movie so much, and they always bring it up." And I said, well, if they come to me with a great script and a great idea, I would definitely consider it. It's been so long, and the character became such a great character, I don't want to mess it up. Cube, who, along with starring in the franchise, is also the screenwriter and producer, has said he's been working on a fourth movie last Friday for years. So we'll see if the next Friday movie comes out, whether or not Chris Tucker will make a reappearance in the series. I don't think he's that busy. I don't know what the residuals are for the Rush Hour movies. I'm sure $10, $20 million be kind of hard to turn down. Now, if there's something you should not turn down or turn off, it is our sports show here on AWSM Radio, Married to the Game. It broadcasts every Wednesday at 9 p.m., featuring Brian, Joe, and Mac Daddy, who bring to the table their insights, analytics, and expertise to the table of all things games, and a bit of trash talking as well, because it's a sports show, and what kind of sports show would it be without a little trash talking? So tune in every Wednesday to catch up on all things sports. Follow them on the Instagram at Joe at Turn Up the Jets, Nick at the Mac Daddy Ryan Show, and Brian at bolstered_up_sports. And the show itself, Married to the Game, MTTG Radio, all on Instagram to get yourself all caught up midweek of all things sports. Listen to Married to the Game, Wednesdays at 9 p.m. right here on AWSM Radio. Well, friends, that just about wraps up the first show of 2022 of the Saturday Report with me, Colt Sebastian Taylor. Thank you for joining me here today. And remember, you can find me on the Twitter, on the Instagram, on the Rizzle, and on the Cameo at Colt S. Taylor. Subscribe to the podcast version of this show at anchor.fm/Colt S. Taylor. Shows are usually posted Sunday or Monday after the final broadcast. And remember, bookmark ColtSebastianTaylor.com for all of your Colt Sebastian Taylor needs. Please hit me up if you think there is a story that I should be covering. Until next time, my fantastic friends, I am, of course, your friend, the one, the only, Colt Sebastian Taylor. and I'll see you later. Happy 2022.